I'll do this again. It's thank you very, very much for coming. It's an absolute pleasure seeing you here. I'll say the exact same thing that I just said, and there are still some seats available, but people are still coming in anyway. We'll start, and it's very, very nice meeting you to this session today on innovation in agro-ecology and regenerative approaches for sustainable development. If we take any of those terms and really started to unpack it, we would have for each of those already stuff to discuss for hours. So we're going to try to combine this, and we're today going to explore the role of innovation in agroecology. We are going to look at how governments and multilaterals and private sector foster innovation in those fields. And we are also going to look at some practical examples of identifying and strengthening innovation in agroecology from the field. So I think we're going to have quite a nice session put together. My name is Dirk Pauschert, and I am the head of section for global food and nutrition security at GIZ. And I have please come in, and I have the distinct honor to being your moderator for today. Now, it's not about me though. I need those cards because it's about our panelists, and we do have a very, very interesting set of panelists put together for you today. Our first panelist has experience in both private sector and government. She was a senior analyst at the Office of Agricultural Economics in the Kingdom of Thailand. She then became the Deputy Secretary General of that office. She does know a lot about innovation, about agroecology, how to look at it from a governmental perspective, regulatory perspective, as she is currently the Deputy Secretary General at the Office of Agricultural Commodities and Food Standards. And I'll ask you please to give a warm welcome to Ms. Kanjana Dangrungu. Thank you very, very much. Please do come. Thank you. Please do take a seat. I'll step to the side. Now, our second panelist, we go from the national level to implementation on the ground. Our national level has and is a master's in national resource management, and she manages innovation, agricultural ecology projects on the ground, and she's a specialist for innovation at the Thai-German Agricultural Cooperation Project. Please do welcome Ms. Sarah Talea Kretschmer. Wonderful. Our third panelist still has a career in academia and politics. She has a PhD in biotechnology. And I did look at the title of your research thesis, and we're going to need to look at this later on because I did not understand. She has been a lecturer at the Faculty for Agriculture at the National University of Rwanda. She has been the Minister for Agriculture in Rwanda, and she's currently the Vice President of IFAD in Rome. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Geraldine Mukeshimana. Thank you very much. And then last, but certainly not least, our panelist has had numerous positions in international institutions and the private sector. She has been, among others, the executive director for Heinrich Böll Foundation in Washington, D.C. She has led the open innovation initiatives at IDB. And she is currently the Vice President and Special Envoy for Multilateral Affairs at Bayer Corporation in Washington, D.C. Please welcome Ms. Helga Flores Trejo. Now, wonderful that we have the panelists together. Let me just say one sort of word in terms of how we want to approach this and organize this. The idea is that we have about 10 minutes with each of the panelists for some introductory statements and some questions from my side. We will then open up the floor for questions from each and every one of you to the panelists before we then have time to come together again. So having said that, if you have a question that comes up during any of those statements, please do come in. Number one, there's a microphone, is what I'm seeing right there. And then just write it down, keep it in mind so that you can address that then later on, yeah? Thank you very, very much. Thank you. All right, so let's start this. Just a second. Beautiful. You okay? Good. Ms. Tangungo, pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. We start with you. We start with the government. We start with sort of the big picture. And the role of government is generally to set policies, set regulations. I mentioned that earlier on already. Come again? Set barriers. Awesome. Yeah. Well, let's talk about those too. Sort of, just to start somewhere, what are the key strategic pillars? What are the key elements for your office, for the government of Thailand, to foster innovation, to foster agro-ecological approaches? Is that even a goal? How do you approach it? Maybe to start sort of at the big picture level.
Thank you for the floor, Dr. Dirk. First of all, I would like to thank you, DLG and GIZ, to organize this panel for us to share among women. I just noticed that all women except the moderator. So okay, so just breaking the ice here. Okay, he just the most handsome here. So okay, so first of all, let me just go to the content of my preparation. So basically, for Thailand, we follow, I think many of you have heard the BCG model, the biocircular green that we have, I think, developed for many years since, I think, 2 prime ministers. Yeah. So I think basically, I think it's a green concept for this BCG economy model. So basically, the primary focus begin with agriculture and food that we want to focus. And we want to promote the sustainable farming practices. So basically, what we do in agriculture, we just have to change from the conventional agriculture farming to modernize by using more innovation and technology. I think which Thailand has help from many countries, especially from the German, through the GIZ, through many projects. And for the big picture is besides the bio energy, biomaterials, and biochemicals, we also have to focus on the science, technology, and innovation among us, and to, I think, and also beside the BCG model, we have also the sustainable farming practices for the rice sector that lately we have the project with the GIZ and the rice department for the SRP global standard. So So just the big picture for my first round.
Yeah, maybe I can come in here for a second. So you mentioned sorry, because I don't know who here in the audience, the BCG model. Pardon my ignorance, I personally don't know. Can you say, would it be possible for you to say, well, first what I get is that agro-ecological approaches are getting more important for the Kingdom of Thailand, and the BCG model plays a role in that.
Yeah,
somehow.
Basically the main plant that we have is the rice.
Yeah.
The rice plant. So after we harvesting, we have trouble with the rice stem, right?
Right.
So basically, originally we just burn them. Most rice farm in Thailand,
right,
because they believe that they can destroy all the
residue.
Pests, yeah, and residue and everything there, right, and refresh the land.
Right.
Yeah. But later we try to convince them to motivate them to use the rice stem for the feed in the livestock part. So basically, after that, I think this is just the way many, including your country, do that to use the rice stem to the livestock, right, sector, right? But now we start to have, I think you have an exhibition here also, the biochar, yeah, but also I think they have some kind of project in Thailand also, yeah, for example.
So what role does your office play in promoting that switch?
So basically the ministry just have to try to have the funding for farmers to motivate them to sell. Or like right now we have kind of granting the money, yeah, for farmer who, yeah, can reduce, right, the burning.
And that is under the Office of Food Standards? No. What role does the Office of Food Standards play in sort of?
Oh, basically we have the standard of the sustainable rice. Mm-hmm. So in our standard, we would indicate that if you want to sell your rice, yeah, to the mill, that, yeah, they have to export rice, yeah, to other countries that are aware of the burning issue.
Okay.
So you have to continue to start work with us, and also the Department of Agricultural Extension.
So the burning of the rice is one of the food standards, essentially. Yes. So what other standards are there that you have when you talk about sustainable rice standards?
Three more standards to, yeah, for sustainable perspective is we have palm oil, the maize, yeah, and also the sugar cane.
Right.
Yeah. But basically the enforcement and because the standard is voluntary, it's not force all the farmers to follow the standard.
Okay.
That's why there is no punishment for if they do
not follow the
standard.
What is the incentive then that you have for them to?
We have to try to do the, I think the market driven to motivate them. That
so farmers can achieve a higher price if they follow a sustainable food standard.
Yeah, standards.
Okay, yeah. Because then the rice is meant for export, or because it's domestic consumption, or
yes. So sugar cane is a I think they were like 5 years project before that the sugarcane plants,
Yeah.
The sugar plant, they motivate the sugarcane farmers who not burning their sugarcane, and they give higher price. But after they stop that project, they still burning again. So it's not sustainable way to do, just convincing with the money just upfront. But I think we have to find a way to convince how good of the sustainable agriculture before, so they can do the more sustainable for their land, for growing the land.
So what we learn is there is a standard for sustainable rice cultivation in Thailand, but it's voluntarily, it's not mandatory, and there are some incentive schemes in place, but most of it essentially is market-driven. Because even in domestic consumption, people can get farmers can get a higher price for sustainably farmed standards. Is that correct?
Yes, but actually, what can I say? I'm not sure if this situation happened in Germany or not, because we have divided our work into, like, we are the grower, and then we just sending our product to the Ministry of Commerce and Ministry of Industry. So the bearing cost, the cost that for the production is stay with the farmers, but the profit go to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So that's why
so there's a funding gap for you.
The supply chain is kind of still not rewardable for the farmer directly, not direct rewarding to the farmer.
Okay. So good policies, I guess in my opinion, usually balance different interests. So they balance the interest of the farmer, the smallholder farmer. They balance the economic interests. They also balance interests of climate change. They balance consumer interests. Sort of, maybe you can say a few words about what is your approach, your office's approach to balancing those interests? How do those interests and ideas find themselves maybe in the sustainability food standard? How do you manage those?
So right now what our ministry do is we acting as a whole chain of supply chain. I mean, we just contact directly with the retailers or the plants, the buyer, so they can give a more favorable price for the farmers. So what we do is we just like we are the chain to like kind of connecting farmer and the market together right now. So what we do is we try to motivate the farmer through the higher price, and we contact like
you get in touch with the farmer directly. Your office does get in touch with the farmers, with smallholder farmers, or how do you do that? We have to collaborate with many departments in our ministry, and also other ministry as well. And then we can work together, like to acknowledge the standard for the staff. It's our job. But then for the acknowledgement, the standard for the farmers is Department of Agricultural Extension. Okay, so you cooperate with the others, and then essentially the Department of Extension, Office of Extension, would then reach out to the farmers. Okay.
But for the product, we just have to do the market-led policy to motivate them to sell more to the buyer that we contact directly.
Okay, and how do, if I come back to the initial question, how do sort of different interests, economic interests, balancing economic interests, balancing environmental interests, balancing climate change, balancing whatever, how does it fare in those discussions? How does it fare in the food standards that you may have? How is this being addressed? How is this being discussed?
Mm-hmm. So I think you want the standard to. I think our department is try to lead the people. I mean, especially farmer and also consumer to acknowledge that if they want to have a good product in the sustainable way, you have to know what to choose.
Right.
Yeah, for consumer and the farmer. If you want to have good health and also in sustainable way, you have to follow how to grow or plant under our standard. So I think we have to kind of acknowledge just one another to understand. Yeah.
How your office or the government, do you give subsidies, or is there, what sort of incentive scheme might there be in place to help farmers transition? Because it's voluntary.
Other departments does. Yeah.
Other departments do that. Okay. And how does sort of the idea of climate change, does that fare in sustainable food standards concern at all?
For climate change, I think it's affect the farming directly. Like for example, like last year, our production in fruit got lower.
In rice or in?
No, in fruit. Like,
fruit, okay.
Mangosteen and also durian. Yeah. So our production is go low because of the climate change temperature. Yeah. So it's the effect also. But I think what we do is we have our researcher also have new variety. Yeah. So they can have the new varieties for the farmer to grow for different temperature to kind of can have more production. Right. With the high temperature.
So they're more resilient to higher temperatures, to droughts, because I have to.
Temperature. Yeah, for with the high temperature.
Okay.
Yeah. And use maybe consume less water.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much for this. Thank you. Wonderful as a first input. Maybe we can now zoom in a little bit onto the practical sort of experience working with smallholder farmers. I think you have prepared a little presentation. Yes. Please, the floor is yours. We're excited to see what you're going to have to present.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving a first overview how the national level in Thailand is working. Yeah, I am here today to give you a bit of an insight on how practical work on the ground is working. And I'm part of the German-Thai Agricultural Cooperation Project. We are working together, it is a joint bilateral agreement between the German Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food and the Ministry of Agriculture in Thailand. Our direct partner is what has already been mentioned, the Department of Agricultural Extension Service, and we are working on promoting sustainable agriculture production systems through innovation networks. And when we entered this project, our starting point were, and still are, a broad range of sustainability issues that beyond farmers as individuals do affect society as a whole. And just to name a few of them, we have depleting soils and, does it go one further? An aging farming community, which is in need of a renewal, and very well known, the burning of crop residues all across the country that causes high or like very bad air quality, and this is just about to come now in the season when we are back in Thailand. So looking at the pain points of society, this does not directly, or it is interlinked to the agriculture sector, but it does not necessarily mean also that it is a immediate farmer priority to tackle this. So here we do see a gap of often what society looks at and what farmers maybe face. And to give an example, it is especially the burning of crop residues. It's very bad for the environment and our health, but for farmers it's just a very practical and also cost-effective solution to prepare the fields for the next planting cycle. And yeah, this in the end leads to the kind of very fundamental question for us: how can we align the pain points of society and turn them maybe also in a win-win situation for both, and overall then have a win-win for the society. Together with our partner, the Department of Agricultural Extension, we sat together and worked on the main pain points, and we identified these 3 focus areas. So first, there's going green with residues. We are working in the maize sector in highland and lowland, and with oil palm farmers of southern Thailand. Then we have the point to increase the value of agricultural products together with mango, durian, and now just recently we are also working together with turmeric farmers. And what affects all the crops is the introduction of sustainable agricultural technology. How do we work? So focus in our project is innovations, and to bring these innovations to the ground level through our innovation networks. So we sit together, we identify the problems, not only with our partners, the DOAE, but we do also sit together with the farmers. We visit them, we are in the field, we do really try to get an idea of what is happening on the ground. Then a big part of the project is the actual demonstration of the innovation. So once we identify a solution for a certain problem, we go out there and together with our partners, and depending also on the innovation we are talking about, we do have different partners with us, from farmers, service providers to universities. And then once ideally this is being successful, the part of scaling and dissemination comes. And to not keep it just so theoretical, I would like to show you a few of the innovations that are on the ground already within the GTEC project. And we have recently introduced a front chopper in oil palm, so the farmers can make use of the residues which would otherwise just be lying around on the fields. They chop it, make small little wooden chips out of it, and then at the moment they're using it as mulching material. And we are also scrutinizing other options to use it, for example, for biochar. There's a small company that might be interested in buying it, or making compost and sell it as well. Another part is to replace the maize in the highlands with more valuable crops for the farmers, so that they don't have to burn the fields. So in this case, we have coffee as an alternative, and at the moment we are trying to find crops that can complement coffee, so that it's not just a monoculture, but maybe with some banana or peanuts. And last but not least, we are also working on soil management. So we had some trials with land leveling. We had a big difference in the field of our farmers. So there was almost a meter of difference and a lot of waterlogging always. So yeah, we had the land leveling and also started to doing some soil decompaction. So yeah, I hope that gives you a good overview of what can like really practical work look like, what we are doing. And yeah, happy to connect with you also later. And this especially is for our project. So if you would like to learn a bit more about it, please feel free to connect with us. And the Google form is a bit more in depth, like a kind of a questionnaire. So yeah, if you're interested, we would be very happy to connect and get to know you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very, very much. That was absolutely excellent. Now, I mean, it sounds super interesting. How do you incentivize farmers to participate? How does the collaboration with the university work? There's a host of questions. Maybe you can start elaborate on some of them.
Yeah, I think the incentivizing part for farmers is kind of the crucial point that has been already mentioned. So our approach, and also my personal, I'm personally convinced that you only can make a real change if the farmers themselves are convinced. So that's why we sit together with them. We sit together with the local DOAE, that is the partner who is based in the different provinces in Thailand and who also work apart from our project with the farmers. And we sit together and we really work on a strategic action plan that everyone agrees upon. And that, yeah, there's a kind of an ownership from the farmer side as well. And the things that I have just shown in the presentation is really something that farmers came up with, that they were concerned about, and we were then trying to find together with partners a solution for it.
So the innovations that you just mentioned and showcased, they came from the farmers actually. They were sort of suggested, developed, I don't know, by farmers that actually work in the project?
No, the problems were put on the plate by the farmers.
Okay.
So we sat together with the farmers, and then the project, GTEC, and together with local DOE, we kind of checked the market and we're discussing what would be a good option to try with the farmers now.
Yeah. How do the universities come into that?
Yeah, the universities themselves, they have a lot of own little projects that they are working with. So we are just in talks with different universities of agriculture, how we can maybe align our interests. For example, with our maize farmers, where we are doing currently the soil management part, there is the university also involved who are trying they try to figure out the carbon content and to find options for a good crop diversification routine. And this is actually perfect because I think those interests work very well together.
Yeah. How did you come up with coffee as a replacement, sort of as an idea for? Is that a crop that works particularly well in the climate and this altitude?
Exactly.
And how difficult was it to convince? Because if you're a farmer and you're being advised or recommended that maybe it's a good time to try a different crop, I imagine there's some barriers there.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
So technically, first you introduce this option and kind of really try to explain in depth what it needs in the next coming years for the farmers. As we especially have an aging population of farmers, this is also something that requires less work in a long-term perspective. And the kind of tricky part is that the coffee plants will only be ready to harvest and give a good yield also in a couple of years. If at all, then it's going to be a thing for them. So I think the challenge is to find a system here where you have a mid-term income options as well. So there might be some vegetables in place that give continuous but very easy money in between until the coffee plants are ready to being harvested. And the good thing is also the maize fields, for example, in the highlands, they are often very far away, so it takes a lot of time to travel there, to go there. And the coffee plants, they can just grow, get ready, and be harvested. So it's it's time also to show them, convince them, and yeah, give it some time.
Yeah. In terms of GIZ, so I have to ask this, in terms of capacity development, if you suggest for farmers to you know, grow a new crop essentially, or even the rice crop, how do you do that in terms of approach to capacity development? How do you assess the needs that they have in terms of the knowledge, the information, funding, you know, crop sources, all those kind of things? Is there a package around that, or how would you do that?
Yeah, I think this package kind of nicely represents a network, because you need funding, you need the knowledge, you need a market for buyers from the commodity that you're offering. So in that case, we are making use of our network together with the local department. Workshops are being developed according to the current status. Yeah. So we just had a workshop on seedlings, on seedling production, where they come in, and GTEC as a project can unfortunately only do a kind of a demonstration. So, for example, we can kind of have a kickoff, a start-off. We could finance the front chopper. We could finance the first round of seedlings. But afterwards, ideally, people are convinced it's being taken up, and also the department or the ministry takes it further and supports it and finances it.
Right. I'd love to come back to the age issue. Succession issue is really what it is, I suppose. Huh? Where's that coming from? How does that play a role in your plans, essentially? Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar also here in Germany, that more and more people move to cities. Okay, now in Germany maybe we see also a reverse thing, that people are going back to the countryside again. But in Thailand, it's really a thing that the children go to the cities to get better jobs, and very, very few people come back to the farmers' like places in the end. So farmers are getting older, they don't have the physical strength anymore, and this definitely is also part of the consideration. Okay, how could the system look like in the future? We are thinking of joint management approaches, so the farmers do not have to manage just their small plots one by one. Is there maybe the option to lease it, to rent it out to someone else who takes care of it, so that there is a bigger area that is being covered and that the machinery use is more easy? So all these ideas that we have to follow.
Yeah. How would you scale this? Are there any plans in terms of scaling this? Is there maybe a connection to governmental level? It's also typical sort of GIZ thing, but is there something where you would think, oh, we're in touch with the government, and how do we make this into a national program? Anything on that front?
So the demonstration phase is just kicking off right now. So we are still in the very initial phase. But I think we are at a good positioning, because our direct partner is the extension service. So as we are also jointly working on the different steps that are being implemented, it's always them being with us. And I personally think that is quite good, because the project will end at some point, but the local department, they can then take it forward. Right. Yeah.
Thank you very, very much for that really, really insightful. Now we're going back from the sort of implementation on the ground level back to multilateral, national, international level. Ms. Mukishimana, as the Vice President for IFAD, what kind of role do you see in your organization with regards to sort of supporting agro-ecological approaches, but also more so maybe what are the barriers that you think are in place, or do you see for support?
Thank you. Looking at IFAD mandates, we invest into the rural communities, and we are looking at addressing issues of poverty and food insecurity, and the whole concept of bioeconomy comes into that, and helping the small-scale farmers, indigenous people, youth and women that we work with into this whole transition, because, I mean, as a world, we keep going back and forth, so it's an exciting time that this concept is coming back, and our role is to make sure that the social inclusion is taken care of, so we make sure that no one is left behind into this development. So we've been looking at as this whole concept of bioeconomy and agroecology coming up again. So what are the challenges or the issues that the rural communities that we work with are facing? Right. And we see big three things, and the first one is the land is degrading. So there is a huge issues on land degradation, even on salinization. But in many parts of the world where we work, especially in Africa, the land size is shrinking as well. So these are limiting the capacity of continue experiments to make sure that the farmers are applying something that is working for them. But also it's limiting the integration of livestock crop and limiting the capacity to generate sufficient biomass that is needed for the recycling. The second thing that we see, it's both for small-scale farmers that we work with, but also for the SMEs that are working in the rural space, trying to provide the services and goods that are needed by small-scale farmers. The financing gap is a big, big, big problem that we see. And farmers are struggling to get the agro inputs that they need. They are struggling to get the labor that is needed, because when you go into this whole system, the labor cost gets higher and higher. So those are affecting the transition. And finally, the lack of knowledge. I think when we are here, we don't realize how much knowledge intensive this bioeconomy requires. And it's really very knowledge intensive, and we don't find that knowledge down there where we are working. And even if, as I just mentioned, they know that some part of it, the financial constraint still comes in and prevent them to adopt. So we have been working in the groundnuts basin in Senegal with the farmers. We have observed that farmers, they know the benefits of the bioeconomy, the agro-ecological systems, but they cannot apply them because they don't have the financial cash flow that is helping them to do that. So you find that probably they may do a tiny bit on a plot, but the rest they leave it because they cannot afford to do it in a comprehensive way, and that is affect the whole transition. So I think as we work toward that, we need to keep in mind the long-term solution that we are looking at, but also provide the solutions and the financial capacity that are helping them to transition, because still as a fund, we don't want them to be left behind. So at IFAD, we work in various activities. We invest in recycling and regeneration of water, soil, biomass, and energy, making sure that the agricultural waste are being transformed into valuable resources. We work on the diversification of and integration of crop and livestock and agroforestry. We also use agro-ecological practices in soil fertility and soil management, but also in pest management. So this is a dynamic field, and the solutions that we provide are variable because there is no size that can fit all. So the big interventions that we do, we work on fostering experimental learning and innovation funds that are supporting the rural communities to generate technologies and tools that can support farmers. But again, as a fund, through our loans and grants, we finance sovereign and non-sovereign operations in the countries where we work. But also we partner with the financial institutions to make sure that as small farmers are transitioning, there are financing mechanisms that are tailor-made to their needs of medium and long term, because we find that the first years are very difficult to cope with. And also we support entrepreneurship, and we include the women and youth into the systems to make sure that they are generating the services and the goods that are needed back by the small-scale farmers. We also broker the purchases contracts, because as they are working hard to work to produce sustainably, you don't want the efforts to be killed by the market. So making sure that the production is integrated into the broader value chain market is a very important context.
Right. So I understand you have different programs, I suppose, and you work with the national governments in supporting farmers in how do you ensure the uptake? What do you see as a barrier for those programs to be taken up? Is there anything you can elaborate on that?
The uptake, they come with different contexts. First of all, when you are working with small-scale farmers, it's important that the relationship between farmers and buyers are not equal, so they are not balanced. It's important to support farmers to have a bargaining power, for them to have capacity to get the rewarding income from the production.
Right.
The second is, again, building the volumes. So sometimes you may find that you are looking for market, but when you get a good market or a good contract, you don't have enough volume to sustain that market. So increasing the capacity of farmers, aggregating them to make sure that they can be able to sustain the market, it's very key. The other one is the standards and the requirements of the market. Again, by training, and the support and supporting the certifications and the standards, it's very key if we want these small-scale farmers to enter the value chain markets. And those are really big things that we need to make sure that they are having. But again, agriculture has been suffering from sustainable finance, and again, tackling the issues of finance at the small-scale farmers level is a big problem that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very, very much for that. And then maybe we go over, not maybe, we're going over to our next panelist, Ms. Trejo. You're working for Bayer Cooperation. How, if we take up the sort of distinct private sector perspective then, which started broadly, what is it that Bayer does in terms of agro-ecological development? Which role can a global corporation like Bayer, specifically maybe also with regards to financing, but also R&D, for example, play to encourage agro-ecological and regenerative approaches? Is that even on your map? How do you, maybe you can elaborate on those. I think your microphone is not on.
Now. Thank you so much, and really, when listening to all of the previous panelists, I was thinking, okay, let me talk from each of you mentioned certain aspects where the government, international organization, project partner can make the difference. And so the question for me is, where does a company like Bayer can truly make the biggest difference? And here's, I would say, three things. First, I'm sure you know Bayer, but as a global company, we work on three main things, which is plant protection, seeds and trades, and digital farming. So where can we make the biggest difference to support what we are looking for, sustainable development? I would summarize it in three words. I would say invest, transform, and then demonstrate. And let me talk a little bit about what I mean by that. Well, invest, certainly. Who, if not companies like us, can invest in the technology, in the innovation that could really be transformational? We are investing, for example, 2 billion euros a year into science and technology, and not just to improve a little bit, but what we are increasingly looking at, what are those crops that are going to survive in a changing climate? What are those crops that are going to use less water? What are those crops that can sustain winds, et cetera, et cetera? So the first thing, we can invest, and we are doing it. The second part, the transformation, and here I mean, in a way, we all need to be very bold and have a very clear vision of what does it mean, sustainable development. For us, we gave ourselves a vision. We say, okay, we're going to work towards regenerative agriculture. And how do we define that? We say, well, it's outcomes-based, and it has to have four things that are essential. And some of you have mentioned aspects of that. One, it has to increase production of food, because we need to feed the world. At the same time that it has to prove that it can generate income for the farmers, right? So that they maintain their farm and protect nature. It has to be resilient, since we are facing, especially smallholders, permanent damage through climate change. And it has to even restore nature. Not only do not damage, but how do we improve soil quality, for example. Now, if you listen to all that, it sounds, okay, yeah, well, that's the vision, yeah, okay, that sounds like the perfect paradise. Why? Yes, it's right. But we need to put that vision front in order for us to work towards that. And we don't have all answers yet, but I do believe that we have certain already, and we are seeing that transformation. So that's the vision that we have. We have to be bold. This is where we're working towards, and our research and everything we're doing is towards that. And then comes the key part, which is demonstrate. I would summarize, you were talking about that. Well, I would say, well, show me, don't tell me, right? For farmers, it's not going to work just talking about beautiful things. You have to show me that it works. And how are we trying to do this? I'll give you 3 examples, if I may. One, what we said, okay, let's partner with farmers across the world, real farmers, real life farmers. We have 22 farms in 14 countries, where with them we commit as partners that we accompany them in using more sustainable practices, and we follow their development. How do they adapt? How do they sustain, etc. over years? And I can tell you, if I look at these, what we call Bayer forward farms, again, they're not Bayer farms, these are real farmers. It's just that we partner with them. For example, in Argentina, a farm like that was able to increase their production in 13% while decreasing the use of spraying by 15%. Which is also, that's another part of the paradigm shift. It's not about selling more product. It's about who has the solutions for sustainable agriculture. Or a better Bayer forward farm in Chile that they were able to reduce by 22% the water usage. That's essential because it shows, and then neighbor farms come and ask, okay, how are you doing? Why are you doing it? I visited one in Sao Paulo, for example, and for me it was very impressive. These were women farmers. And they told me, well, the truth is that we have seen very changing rain patterns, unfortunately. And many of our neighbors have lost productivity, while we, because we really focus on improving soil health, we have not only maintained but increased productivity. So that's that. The knowledge that we get from that, we shared. So that's one example. If I may mention just another one, they're looking at me. But because the other amazing part of agriculture is that it's the one sector that not only can reduce its emissions, but can capture carbon in soil. But you won't be able to do that if you don't have the science, if you don't measure, if you demonstrate clearly in a believable way that this is done. So we started a program in Brazil, Pro Carbono, with 1,900 farmers, 510,000 acres. Again, also practicing with them as partner, okay, reduce tillage, crop rotation, cover crop, etc., and measuring all the time the science, and Embrapa, measuring all that, and show that you're really capturing by measuring a baseline and etc. But at the end, what you see, those farms that are doing it, they increase their productivity by 10% and their profitability by 6%. So let me just talk as a third example, one that is key for us and that we had to learn also a lot, which is smallholders, right? Traditionally, many of you had asked for many years ago, 6, 7 years ago, Bayer wasn't necessarily very well in how best provide solutions for smallholders. But we gave ourselves a target. We said, well, we want to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. We know out of these 550 million smallholders in the world, we want to be able to reach 100 million by 2030, and they should benefit. By now, we have reached already 53 million. And what do we mean by reach? I think Sarah mentioned something like, she said, well, we work in networks. And that's what we understood. We started in India with what we call the Better Life Farming Centers. And what we understood is by gathering smallholders, up to 500 smallholders in one Better Life Farming Center, and then go with all the different partners, whether it's IFC, who helps give knowledge on finance, or to an off-taker who commits to take the product, or us who commit to provide access to top technology, we were able to prove that you can increase in a tremendous way the income and the productivity from these farmers. And the key was, most of all, working as an ecosystem, right? At the same time, and we were trying to solve access to technology and last mile delivery, something that, of course, Ifat knows very well about. And let me just finish here, because we have been measuring, and all of this has been measured by externals, that these Better Life Farming Centers, we have about 2,700 and counting, increasing, a lot of them starting in India, but beyond to Bangladesh, etc., that the farmers could increase their 90% increase their productivity, 87% increased their income. And the last thing that I would say, something that is important, and we only realize later on, the social impact that it had for their families, that they were able, 76% said they were able to spend more in education for their children, for example. And so that is for us, okay, this is how we're seeing impact. And this transformation that we are trying to make, it will not work if A, we don't show it, as I said, and B, if we leave smallholders behind. So this is where we are trying to work and work with some of you towards that.
Thank you very, very much. Let me ask maybe one or two follow-up questions before we also then come to opening this whole discussion to the audience. I understood that you're working with thousands of farmers in total, lots of them being smallholder farmers, and with an incredible scientific, data-driven approach, as a matter of fact. So you generate a wealth of information, data. Is there a way, maybe you're doing it already, I don't know, but is there a way to put this into public-private partnerships, maybe also in cooperation or in collaboration with governments, with multinational institutions? I mean, you're sitting on a data gold mine in essence.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because the knowledge that we generate out of that, helps us to improve the programs, to understand, okay, what is it, the real problems we're trying to solve, what is it that farmers need. So we do, for example, surveys. Has it changed? What hasn't, how it has improved? Then the question of the knowledge partners, I worked, one of the things that I did before joining Bayer is I worked for a multilateral development bank, Latin America, IDB. And of course, it is the international organizations like the development banks or IFAD, others, that are best prepared to measure impact and then to help distribute that knowledge. So we have partnered, therefore, with IFC. In some cases, we are working with GIZ. We could do more, certainly. And here's the question of the scalability, right? I think we all have examples of things that work well. The question, scale and speed. We need to intensify that. And finally, let me just say that information and that data, what we have also seen is just a practical application. You were mentioning smallholders don't get fair price. So we have an app that is giving smallholders direct information, insights on the market, of also advice on crops and how to do it, etc. But so with that knowledge that they can get directly in an app, they're able to get a better, fairer price in the market too. So that's also another way to use the data and make it available.
Thank you so much, Ms. Trejo. Thank you very, very much for this input. We've been debating here for presenting for quite a bit. Maybe it's a good time to really open this for questions from the audience. So please do, I don't know how this works now. Either wonderful. Okay, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thanks so much for this interesting discussion. My name is Markus Wolter from the Catholic Development Organization Miserio here in Germany. I've got two questions. One question is to Ms. Kretschmer, the other one for Ms. Trejo. I work in Africa, Latin America, and Asia regarding agroecology, and there's a clear definition from FAO regarding agroecology. And what you presented there in Thailand, for me, to be honest, has not even one aspect of agroecology. So because it's about reducing dependencies, it's about reducing external inputs, it's about intercropping, it's about bringing farmers out of dependencies and replacing maize by coffee and by decompacting, to be honest, doesn't sound to me too much for agroecology as far as definition of FAO is concerned. So how do you consider that agroecology? I would like to know that. Second question is to Ms. Trejo. I come from Malaysia, where I worked the last weeks, and I've been to many different countries where Bayer products are used to the very, very heavy disadvantage of people, of groundwater, of biodiversity. And you are sitting there and are saying that you and your company is for restoring and improve soil quality and to improve livelihoods of people. If you are on the ground of people who are affected by these products, I'm heavily irritated about this, what you are saying. And the moderator, to be honest, that would be your task to question the things which are happening on this panel. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Thank you very, very much. That's a rather critical perspective. Do we have other perspectives on this? Any other questions? We'll come to that. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
Ja, meine Damen und Herren, ich spreche leider
Ladies and gentlemen,
die englische Sprache.
I have to excuse myself. I don't speak English very well. I was very interested by your presentation, and
Wenn Sie ja Praktiker suchen, die
if you look for staff that are able to train your staff and train the producers, who do you approach?
sein Wissen, sein Können. Ich habe über 20 Jahre lang ausgebildet.
If you want to disseminate your knowledge, I have trained diverse people also in Asia. What is the contact address that I can approach? Do you need the trainers or only on paper, or do you actually need them in reality? Because I couldn't find anywhere where I could sign up. Also, when it comes to the soil management, to managing technology, repairing technology, who can I approach? Thank you very much.
Those two questions first. Now with the second one, I'm not sure how this worked with translation now actually, but I think that's okay. Are you okay? You can tackle the first. So that was, is this an agroecology approach essentially?
Yes. Thank you for your, maybe critical question or raising this concern. I don't think that our project is not also working under agroecological perspective. So, for example, as we are trying to find ways to use the residues as a compost, so it's also getting into a circular use of the, maybe as of at the moment perceived waste. And it's giving back as mulching material. We are also going to have a workshop on composting, so that will reduce the dependence on external fertilizer, for example. It's going to be organic fertilizer, so ideally we will also have less usage of chemical fertilizer in that perspective. And as I also have been mentioning, for the replacement of coffee that we are aiming at, that we are also here looking at, yesterday we had the big topic and discussion of agroforestry, so to really avoid having another monoculture there. So maybe not everything is perfect yet, but I think we're on the right path towards that. And maybe just to the other question, for example, I don't know if you were here already when I was presenting, but we are happy to connect, for example, via our contact formular. So please reach out to us, and then we can have a bilateral discussion and get to know more about your expertise.
Is okay? I don't know if there's translation or not, to be totally honest. So I'm not.
You can really answer in English. That's no problem.
Okay. But then, good. All right. Ms. Trejo, maybe you want to respond, please.
There?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we are definitely undertaking a paradigm shift. If it hasn't been clear, I welcome you to any of the farms we're working with and the farmers we're working with, either with smallholders in India or Bangladesh or other places, or with the science-based institutes we work with, like Embrapa. Now, that does not mean we have all the solutions, but I can tell you, for example, one of the things we said as a company 6 years ago, yes, we need to reduce the impact of crop protection in nature, because it has an impact. So we committed that by 2030, we will reduce by 30% the impact. How? Well, the innovation that I was mentioning before, right? We need new compounds. We need to better understand which seeds, which crops can better grow in this new climate, or when Kenya, how do you call what happened with the locusts? How do you say locusts? Yeah, exactly. Right? When so much of the food production is attacked by locusts, but you only had very old compounds. Definitely we need innovation. But second is through understanding that innovation doesn't mean more product. In fact, we are trying to reduce exactly the use of product. And that's what I said, by providing digital solutions or having crops that are shorter, that you can reach them better, or by very precise utilization of crop protection so that you use less and people are damaged less and they know how to use it. All that, I'm aware of the challenges. We have the targets, we are on the path towards that. And the question is, when you ask, well, you're saying that, but how do I believe it? Well, that's why we work with others. That's why we work with not only development banks, we work with international organizations, we work on NGOs on the ground, and we said, yes, we need to partner because we don't have all the solutions, and also because we know that's the only way we're going to get with big impact and solve the challenge. And I don't want to get into the definition discussion, but I hope we could agree on where is it that we want to get through and understand that we need all of the above. We need all the technology we can get. We need to de-risk agriculture. We need to finance agriculture. We need companies that invest, even though it's not yet a business. And consumers were mentioned. It's not that consumers are there immediate to take it's companies that have to move first, and governments can help with incentives. Anyway, we are into a path. It's not an easy one, but we need all of the above, I would say.
Thank you very, very much. Other questions? It's a bit hard for me to, so please. And then we'll get to every question, I promise you. We can do this. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Laura Mack. I work for the Food Security Standard, a project by Welthungerhilfe, currently financed by the German Ministry of Food and Agriculture, and we focus on human rights and agricultural supply chains. So my question is for Ms. Dangrun-Groy and Ms. Kretschmer. How do you tackle the topic of food insecurity of farmers in agricultural supply chain? Does that play a role? How can you improve the situation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. You would love to take a first cut at it?
I try. I think for your question, I'm not sure what information that you have read about food insecurity in Thailand, because actually in terms of for planting issue, food insecurity would be the seed and all the fertilizer, and accidentally, I mean, I'm not sure if this panel is would like me to focus on what small farmer needs to have. Basically, their expenses more for the fertilizer is more than 50%, and also the seed. If they don't have the prior crop before, they have to buy everything. Yeah, and later after the climate change issue, they have to buy water also. So the cost of production for farmer getting higher and higher, and what they have is they just have to have more loan for their farming. So I think if you say food insecurity, I would state it that way, that food insecurity for agriculture in Thailand, but I'm not including, all the farmers have this problem, but many farmers who has dependent on the fertilizer, and they have some, how can I say, the store mostly the small farmer, because they are not in a town, right? So basically they buy their fertilizer like near their houses. So basically the retailer is all around the city. So I'm not sure if I answered the question, but we can talk, I mean, off the floor if you want to ask me in detail. Thank you.
There were lots of other questions, so the gentleman over there, exactly. Thank you so much, please. Sorry, you right after that, and then. Okay.
Good evening, Georg Bokelo, advisor in Development Cooperation. I enjoyed the little picture, Sarah, you showed with the circle, where the innovation then, once it's in place in a demonstration place, should then be scaled up. But I'm rather skeptical after my experiences, not only in Asia, but also in my own country here. I have seen too many examples where one wonderful innovation, whether it's from the agro-ecological or organic agriculture or, but even the next neighbor aside is not doing it or copying it and is not convinced automatically. So I wonder whether you have, let's say, a conceptual or a specific approach, or what is it that you hope for that this demonstration will be taken up, scaled up? There are so many reasons why farmers won't do it. Do you have a similar experience, or is that it will work?
There's also, please go ahead.
No. Did you want to add something?
No, I was going to say there's probably also many reasons why they would take it up, so please.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, that's why in this project, the demonstrations or the innovations we are working with kind of come in the collaborative discussion with the farmers. So there's a problem, we sit together, and then we really discuss and ask them, is this something that you would like to try out? Then they say yes. And our farmers are already organized in kind of a cluster farm. So we really have it, I was there myself at the soil decompacting day, that all farmers come and look, they are just super interested. We had the first time really big tractors, heavy machinery there. And so the interest is definitely there, I would say. Now, of course, kind of results will also have to follow. So we will see if the maize or the mung beans that are growing on these fields will have actually a better yield. And yeah, so in this cluster farm group, for example, we have a young smart farmer, and he's really our main entry point to the whole cluster farm group, because they are in very close exchange to each other, and whenever he brings something new to the field, people are listening and people are watching at it. And I think on the real impact, I can maybe tell you next year when I see.
Ms. Trejo, you want to have an addition there. Please, go ahead. You have to turn it on, I think. No? Up? Yeah.
No. No, a comment, because you're right. The question is, why would farmers adopt something? What the argument? And for us, it's a non-starter. If you come to a farmer, it doesn't matter if it's a small or a large farmer, and said, this is good for environment, but you're going to lose income and you're going to lose productivity. That's a non-starter. Now, that should not be the end of the conversation. But even then, if we go to a farmer, a rice farmer, for example, and say, and you would save water, that's still not enough. We have learned that there's a couple of or factors that would make something successful. A, it has to increase the productivity and their income. B, you have to solve a real problem. And for example, when we are trying to work with smallholders in India to introduce direct seeded rice that uses less water, well, one of the key challenges is the cost of labor that the traditional methods have, and this is a real problem they have. If you can show that a new method, while it's different, etc., it's solving a real problem for them immediate, then that helps too. But also ease of adoption. There's several ones. Incentives, you talked about that, right? Working well with governments and authorities in 2 states in India, for example, that are supporting and maybe incentivizing by 50% the adoption of mechanized RX seeded rice. I would say it takes several things. We're working towards that, and for us, it is exactly just understanding those pain points of the farmer that we are trying to tackle in order to finance that transformation. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And it's not going to work especially as fast as we need it to work. So those are some of the learnings I think we have had.
Thank you very much. There was a gentleman who had, yes, several times, and then here, first row.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the very enlightening panel. In the opening ceremony today, we heard that we need to unlock innovation. The innovation is available in the labs and with startups. Kudos to the GetHack project. For me, that is open innovation at the grassroots levels, matching the pain points of the farmers with either new technology or existing technology. My question is to Dr. Mukeshimana and Ms. Trejo. How can such grassroots open innovation initiatives match with your organizations to get the investment and funding that they need to scale up and reach the light of day?
Thank you very much, but maybe also have your name and organization, just so that
my name is Christopher Armstrong. I work for a startup accelerator. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Ms. Mukeshimana, you want to take a go?
Yeah, one thing is, as Helga has mentioned, is this innovation really producing results that are making people move forward? That's number one. And financing it, okay, I guess if you really show that this is an innovation that is helping to move stones and make impact, you will not run out of financing. I mean, for instance, we have, I have mentioned our program of loans and credit and grants. We have a program that is financing innovations on the ground, both piloting but also generating technological tools that are making it happen, because innovation by itself or research data by itself is not of use until there is a technology tool that is generated and getting into the hands of the users. So I assume we have that program, and we have, for instance, been doing an innovation grant that is working in 5 countries in South America, helping the startups like yours to co-design and co-develop with small-scale farmers products and tools that are helping them to increase productivity. That's a number one big thing in the agricultural sector. Second, that is helping them to have access to information and knowledge that they need. And third, to have access to the market. So it's really important to look around and know who is having money to nurture and push forward the startups that are making the real thing to happen.
Now, okay. Very briefly, very good point. This is what we are trying to do. We have a venture capital arm, if you will, that looks for exactly those innovators that are agri-entrepreneurs with digital solutions, with different business models, and supports or invests. One of them, Apollo Ag from Kenya, right? I think their model of how to underwrite debt for smallholders by utilizing machine learning and working like a fintech then by de-risking smallholders, giving the money, etc. Very successful. We invested also there. Just being very open that there's a lot of open innovation and for large companies like ours, to partner with them and then to support them. They receive then, for example, funding from IFC also. So looking for enabling those innovators.
Now, looking at my watch made me realize that an hour and a half is gone, and we have to come to the end of this session. So I would suggest one last round of questions, if there are any, before we close this up. I know you wanted to ask a question, so, and then maybe one or two more before we finish this session.
Yeah,
please.
thank you, Dirk. My name is Gerd Fleischer from GIZ, German International Corporation. I want to pick up on one of the aspects that several of the panelists mentioned. This is labor shortage and the labor demand that comes with agro-ecological and bioeconomy approaches there. For Helga Treschner mentioned already a solution offered by Bayer there with the direct seeding. Yeah. But how is this in the case that was presented from Thailand for rice straw? Yeah, so farmers traditionally burn the rice. We don't want this. Yeah, the farmers do this because they get easily rid of the residues. But we want to do something else with them. Yeah, so how do you actually support and how do you manage this? Do you subsidize some machinery? Do you give some other incentives, or what is the? Would there be carbon credits or something kind of solution where you get subsidies from the international voluntary carbon market? What kind of solutions could you imagine?
In terms of carbon credit things, we also do to the farmers also. I mean, for the rice farming, but I'm not sure if you're familiar with the carbon credit system. It seems like it's like you have to play with the price at the present of the credit. So basically, the company who wants to buy the carbon credit from the rice farmer, they have limited capability to buy. So we have our country have rice farming around like maybe million rice, like a lot of land. So if we want to do the carbon credit. So the company, I think if you have recommended the companies that have capability to do the carbon credit in Thailand, we would be appreciate to get that kind of assistance also, because from what I know is only 10 people who enjoy the carbon credit from the rice farming, because after the companies go and try to convince the farmer to do the carbon credit, it's complicated. And also they negotiating the price, because the price of carbon credit is like you buy the stock. I think this is what I heard, that so the most farmer they are not comfortable with debating. So they just want to be easy. They just want cash, like in 7 days. So because they don't have the how can I say, they don't have any spare money. So the faster they get money, they would take that money from the mill, or rather than waiting for the carbon credit with a lot of papers they have to do. So if you want to recommend, you can ask our ministry to do, because I think this project is very interesting, and our minister or our executive at the ministry try to promote this program, but it doesn't work in a large number of scale. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Is there any absolute last burning question? Because otherwise I would call this to an end. I would assume that our panelists would be available after the session, or maybe tomorrow, for some more questions if you want to approach them. I don't see anything, so then let me call this to a closure. I thank you very, very much for coming and attending this session. I thank Mr. Zwoll and all the organizers for making this happen. I thank you very, very much for coming from very, very far, actually, here to GFFA, but also then to this panel to debate. Thank you very, very much for that. And please have a round of applause. And I wish you all a wonderful evening. Come home safely and see you around. Bye.